What's up, people? I'm Shaggy the Opinionated Hippie, continuing my deep dive into the Who's live catalog. Started with the most recent release when I started this deep dive, which was live at the Oval, 1971, going backwards in time, working our way back to the OG classics. But today I have a 2007 release, View from a Backstage Pass. Fascinating release. I'm going to talk about it, review it, not play music from it, rank it among the other 11 that I've already done. So this is a 2-disc set that came out in 2007 that has, to some degree, become redundant in recent years, as a lot of the material that is on here, we're not getting complete shows on here. We're getting like snapshots of live shows. And in recent years, some of this stuff has been released in its entirety. In fact, I've already reviewed all these things because they all came out after this release. In one hand, that's kind of like cool because, well, it's disappointing because this is a fantastic release. And like, there is pretty much one entire disc. It's like, all right, this exists elsewhere. Kind of don't need to listen to this disc anymore. But then on the other hand, the idea that they're releasing this stuff and they have complete shows of this stuff, maybe the stuff that hasn't been released yet, which is equally fantastic as the stuff that has been released, will eventually be released, and we'll get a complete 73 show or a complete 74 show or a complete 76 show, which would be amazing. So anyways, 2 discs. The first disc is you get one 60s song to open up the entire thing, and then a bunch of tracks from 71. Yeah, most of which have been released. So the opening track is Fortune Teller, in 1969 performance from Detroit. That is just awesome. There's an early rawness to this. The sound on here isn't impeccable, but it's not bad. And anytime the sound is maybe a little subpar, I think it just adds to the rawness of the edge and the roughness of the edge and just helps like fray those edges in a really good way. But the opening Fortune Teller is just a great way to kick off this compilation of live tracks. Really good choice. Then we get a bunch of tracks from 1971 from the Hull show, which I recently reviewed because that entire show has been released. We get Happy Jack, I'm a Boy, A Quick One While He's Away, which were the closing 3 songs of the main set before they did their Tommy performance. Good performances, great energy. A Quick One is particularly good. Happy Jack, I'm a Boy, that's an awesome pairing to drop into the middle of a set. But we have now the complete Hull show, which I would recommend as it. When you see the list at the end of the video, if you stick around that long, you will see why. Like, skip these and go listen to Hull. Then we get one of the only other tracks on this disc that has not been released, or at least I haven't discovered it. I'm a Who live fan, but I don't know a lot about their discography, which is why I'm doing this disc dive. This is my first time listening to any of these shows that aren't pretty much 1970 based. Oh, but the Hull stuff is from 70. Great stuff. We get a Magic Bus from 71. Pretty nice, slowly developing Magic Bus. It's about 14 minutes long. We really don't get as much vocal back and forth as we do in a couple other versions. Pete's energy is fantastic. Right about the 4.5 minute mark is when he comes in. We kind of go, a little psyche, a little almost Jefferson Airplane type psyche in there. We reach a point after that early first peak where the song just is like, it's just staying alive by pure momentum, by pure sheer force of will. Like, not much is really happening other than the band is just kind of still on stage, just kind of going away, which is kind of the MO for a lot of their jams. And then every once in a while, Pete will just like rip off a lick or go into this like heavy little shred thing. And that's pretty much like the middle third of this song is them just kind of like, let's just keep playing. The show's not over yet. And then for the past 3 minutes, they up the energy to give us like a typical Who chaos ending. Pretty neat performance. I think there's better Magic Buses out there that I've already heard. So, and then we get to close out this disc, all from San Francisco 71, a complete show that has been released on the Who's Next: Lifehouse series. There were 2 complete 71 shows on there. This is one of them. But we get I Can't Explain, Substitute, My Wife, which I believe were the first 3 songs of that show, Behind Blue Eyes, Bargain, Baby Don't You Do It, which I believe has been edited to shorten a little bit for this version. And these are all great performances. However, we now have a complete show of this. So disc 1 is kind of redundant. You got 2 songs that have not been released, Fortune Teller, Magic Bus. Everything else is out there. But it's a good collection of songs. They're good performances. Energy is fantastic. Like, no complaints. If you're not interested in complete shows and you just want like a snapshot of live Who, this is a fantastic disc. However, disc 2, which is 100% unreleased, is kind of phenomenal. Opens up with 373 songs, The Punk and the Godfather, 515, Won't Get Fooled Again. The really cool thing about The Punk and the Godfather and 515 is it's just the 4 of them. There's no horns, there's no keys, there's none of that other stuff. It's the 4 members of The Who. And so there is this rock and roll, just rawness to this. And there are parts of The Punk and the Godfather, and particularly 515, that on the studio album you have other elements coming in to like give it a fuller sound. Here they just got to like sound louder and hit it harder, and just like we got to make it up. We got to make up for it ourselves, what we're lacking from the studio versions. And it is fantastic. Punk and the Godfather just sounds like rock. That opening guitar riff by Pete is fantastic. 515, like you can almost hear the gears grinding in the rock and roll machine that is The Who, like in a good way. Like this is just pure rock and roll right here. And the middle part of this, it's kind of like Pete and John kind of going at it for a while, just the bass and guitar kind of having a little battle as they just move the energy forward. Fantastic stuff. And then we get a Won't Get Fooled Again. Entwistle sounds particularly amazing. And the best part of these live Won't Get Fooled Agains for me are the instrumental section after the vocals, but before we go into that final synth break. And Keith Moon's drum fills in particular. I mean, they're not even fills. It's just Keith Moon soloing over this section essentially is just some of the greatest playing ever. It is absolutely amazing. Really good Won't Get Fooled Again. 3 great 73 tracks. Then we get 1, 2, 3, 4 74 tracks, one of which will be released on their next live release, which was a Greatest Hits Live, which was my previous Who video. But we get a 6-minute version of Young Man Blues, which is awesome, well jammed out, great energy. We get a Tattoo. These early pop nuggets work so well, especially when they follow something like a Young Man Blues. And then after this will be a Boris the Spider. But Pete is a genius when it comes to writing these pop songs. And the fact that the melodies and the pop energy is just so perfect and so pure, but the lyrical lyrical content is always so subversive, or is always so like pushing the envelope of what other like pop bands were doing in the late 60s. Amazing stuff. But the Tattoo is amazing. We get a Boris the Spider, which is just a beast of a song. Boris the Spider. What a great song. And then we get, and this is the one that was released on Greatest Hits Live, a near 15-minute, they call it a medley, but it's not really a medley. Naked Eyes, which you get a fantastic Naked Eyes. Fully formed Naked Eyes. Loose, rough, end of the show jamminess. It says it's part of a medley with Let's See Action, but Naked Eyes kind of falls apart, and then they kind of pick up the pieces and start like put together a jam in which they say Let's See Action. So you get a little bit of a Let's See Action like jam, really. And then that goes into a blues jam over which they sing the My Generation lyrics. It is awesome. It is epic. I went and looked at a bunch of set lists from 74, and most of the time the main show was almost exactly the same every night, but the encores, they mixed it up to quite a degree. And if there is to be a release of this, I kind of hope it's like a 3 CD set in which like the first maybe 1.5 or 2 CDs are a complete show, and then they fill out an entire extra CD plus maybe whatever's left over on disc 2 with encore stuff from other shows if it's available. Because just looking at some of the songs that they played, some of the covers that they played, some of the things that look jammed out similar to this band was having fun in 74. I mean, 74 may be the most epic, perfect year in live music. that Who are part of that argument, part of that case that can be made. So the 74 stuff is fantastic. And then we close out with a bunch of 76 stuff. A couple songs have been previous released, but then we get a whole Tommy sequence that I would argue is the best, most high energy, raucous, raw version of Tommy yet to be officially released. Not the complete Tommy, but the songs we have in here are just amazing. So we get a squeeze box, Dreaming from the Waist. I think both of those were on the re-release of Who by Numbers, which I don't know. I think that might have came after this. Not really sure on that exact release date. But both of these sound great. I think the Dreaming from the Waist sounds better. I really wish the Who by Numbers track stuck around more into their live set because I really, really like that album. I think that's a really underappreciated album. And the energy in this Dreaming from the Waist is fantastic. But then we get just the most high energy performance of Tommy I think I've heard. Fiddle About. I've said many times, I wish this was an instrumental. It's hard to listen to grown men singing fiddling about. And the riff on there, you get the sense from the guitar riff that this is like not a happy song, that this is about something that's menacing and dark and not a good thing. But this version, give me all of it. It works. We get a great Pinball Wizard, a completely rowdy I'm Free that's just, it's just a gut punch. Tommy's Holiday Camp, We're Not Gonna Take It, and then they index See Me, Feel Me separately. Just epic, great set closing performance of Tommy. Absolutely amazing. They kill it. The energy is just phenomenal in this entire Tommy portion. Really good listen. I don't know if this disc is still available out there. I think it is not still made from my understanding, from what I've been able to look out there. I had to listen to it on YouTube because I couldn't find it elsewhere at a reasonably affordable price that I was willing to pay. However, if you get a chance to listen to this, disc 2 is amazing. Actually, the whole thing is amazing. So if you haven't heard the Live 71 stuff, the stuff that I was on disc 1, this is still worth checking out. But this is a really, really, really good release. If I had to rank it among all the other 11 that I've already done, I have it at 7. It drops low because disc 1 is redundant and it's not a complete show, and I'm a big fan of complete shows. And if you look at the top of that list, you look at, the San Francisco show, it's ranked above this. The Hall show, sitting up there in number 1 because those are fantastic. But I think this is a fantastic release. View from a Backstage Pass. Great concept, great idea. They pick good songs. Yeah. And fingers crossed that this means we're going to maybe... 76 is right around the corner. The year, or not 76, but the 50th anniversary of 7076. 1976 is right around the corner. Maybe we'll get that 76 show or a 76 show as like a 50th year anniversary. Who hasn't really been doing that as much as, say, Zappa has been, but maybe. Anyways, good listen. I liked it. All right, that's all I got. Let me know your thoughts on this, Who Live, all that other stuff. You know how comments work. Do your comment thing if you want to. If not, find this, listen to it. It's a good listen. Peace. Talk to you later.